at least for the first half of the show, you're going to have the three amigos carrying you tonight. I'm Kendrick. That's Chris. Jared Hoffman, Team Tiffany, and Chris does not have a Delaware State moniker tonight. So
it's a
so
bye
we'll,
week.
it's a bye week. Yeah, it's a bye week for them. They did a lot of traveling. They deserve a break.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome to our show. On this Wednesday night, it's our roundtable where we normally have a full crew, but tonight we're too short. Cameron Shaw not here tonight. He had a loss in his family, so all condolences to him and his family. Hopefully Reggie Flood will join us later on tonight with some impression of some 80s wrestler that we don't know about. Yeah, but like we're still gonna have a fun show. We're gonna have a topic tonight in the latter half of the show that's probably gonna get everybody riled up. And see Chris Stevens, he's already ready to roll on that one. So is Jared Hoffman. He got a lot of strong thoughts about it. But first, we're gonna talk about football. That's why you're here. That's why we're here. So you guys had a show on Monday night. I wasn't able to make it. Had to be with the wife, celebrate her birthday. Happy birthday, Calais. She's old enough. I won't tell you her age, but she's old enough.
Two things, hey, Kendrick, before we get started, fellas out there, younger fellas, I mean, the older G's that listen to this show already know, but to my younger fellas out there that stumble upon this, two things you never ask a woman: her age or her weight.
No, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. So
yeah, I concur. All my life, my mom's age has been none of my doggone business. So like, how old are you turning this year, Mom? None of your doggone business. All right, got it. Gotcha.
My mom's birthday was Tuesday, and the only reason I felt comfortable saying it because she felt comfortable saying it. She was like, I made it this far, I can say that I'm this. And I'm like, all right, well, happy blankety blank birthday, Mom. Love you. And I'm damn sure not going to say it on this program. No, sir.
No.
Wait for your mama to tell you her age before you ask. Don't you dare ask any woman, but especially your mama.
Exactly.
My mom's birthday is coming on Saturday. So, Mom, if you're watching, I won't ask you how old you are, but happy birthday nonetheless.
A lot of September birthdays going on around here. Mine's the 25th. So looking forward to that.
It is Virgo season, so be careful out there, people.
Yes.
Yeah. So as I was saying, like you guys had a show on Monday night where you kind of recapped the games over the weekend, especially the ones that happened on Sunday. I didn't get to chime in, but I will say though, the Orange Blossom Classic, I didn't know what Eddie Robinson was doing with his quarterbacks. He started two quarterbacks, John O'Brien and Andrew Body, the first play of the game. They both were out there at the same time, and then like he kind of like switched them out the rest of the game. And they obviously the Hornets only scored when Andrew Body decided to run the football. But if you're gonna stick with a quarterback, stick with Andrew Body. Please do that. If he can play, because he left the game late in the fourth quarter with what appeared to be a hand injury. He was asked about it on Tuesday, and he said Body was getting examined. He didn't know the extent of the injury, but we'll find out later on in the week whether or not he'll be able to go. But I will say, Andrew Body has to play if he can play all four quarters. None of this two-quarterback system. That's how Alabama State is going to win the SWAC and go far in this year. I didn't catch the other two games. I was too focused on the Division I game. But I will say, though, the tennis for the Orange Blossom Classic, disappointing. We kind of knew from jump it wouldn't be what it was when Florida A&M was in it. This is the first year that Florida A&M did not play in the Orange Blossom Classic since 1933, when the Classic first was started. No real big names this year for the Classic outside of Florida A&M, and so attendance was 10,000 and change. And playing a football game with 10 other people in the stadium that holds 60,000 people, that's not going to be a good look. So whoever organizes this football game, Kendra Bullock, really has to go back to the drawing board and try to get some opponents in there. They will bring more folks that will kind of be more intriguing, not only to like the fan bases that travel, but to the locals who in Miami and the surrounding Florida area to go watch them play, because Alabama State and North Carolina Central really aren't national black college football brands. In North Carolina and Alabama they are, but outside of that, not so much. Jerry, you have something to say?
No, I just got a question for you guys. So the Florida Beach Bowl had the same problem, but obviously that was the very first Florida Beach Bowl. But do you think this is just a Florida thing where you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to pander to the market. You know what I mean? So you can't have a game in the state of Florida that Florida A&M is known for, and I believe they hadn't not been a part of, if you don't have a team that is, if not close to that area, which the only other team is Bethune-Cookman. So do you think it's just because it was Florida, or is it because it was North Carolina Central and Alabama State? Because a lot of people were saying from the Florida Beach Bowl that it should have been Edward Waters. They were coming off their incredible season last year. They're in the state of Florida. Their fans were excited for that game, but they picked Johnson C. Smith and Fort Valley State. So do you think this is just a Florida thing where the state of Florida wants to see its Florida teams, or is it because of the schools that they are picking?
I would have to say absolutely that it is a Florida thing, because the Orange Blossom Classic began in 1933. And, it took, after 1978, it went away because, of course, Florida A&M went on to win the FCS championship that year. And then they just kind of sort of forgot about it for about 35, 40 years or whatever. But every year until last Sunday, Florida A&M has been in that game. And it's hard to undo 90 years of history. And a lot of that, I think, is going to be interesting with this new athletic regime, because I know that when Tiffany Dawn Sykes was the AD, they pulled out because they wanted to have more games on campus, which makes sense.
I think Chris froze. Oh, there he is.
Oh, this stupid Xfinity, count your days. But yes, you can't just Florida A&M and the Orange Bowl are intrinsically linked. You simply cannot have that game without them. As far as the Florida Beach Bowl is probably the first time around for it. So yes, Edward Waters probably would have been a better pick, but Fort Valley State was the SIAC team that I guess you'd call them the runner-up of sorts. And so the same for Johnson C. Smith. I guess they just figured, okay, 2 HBCUs that were at least 7-win teams. Somebody will come see him. No, you got to have Florida somewhere in there. So that's why Edward Waters playing this year, having a good year this year, will be paramount to that game. I don't think they'll win. I mean, I picked them to win the SIAC. So if they win the SIAC, then they probably won't be playing in the Florida Beach Bowl. But if they don't, they definitely need to be in the Florida Beach Bowl.
Well, if they win the SIAC, they'll be in the D2 playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think they would have to be a runner-up in the SIAC championship game, or just one of the teams in the mix. And before I go in on it, I forgot to shout out my mom, who's in the chat. She was giving me an amen when we was talking about the parents' age. But I think it's along the lines of what you're saying, Chris, is that you have to pander to the market. You know what I mean? And if you're not going to pander to the market by going to get Florida A&M, you have to go and get a fan base that you know for sure can travel and will travel, like a Jackson State, like a Grambling State, like a Southern. You know what I mean? Especially in the state of Florida, where, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of schools aren't traveling to Florida. It's not as easy to travel to Florida as it is like a Georgia, or as it is like a Texas. You know what I mean? Especially in the SWAC, where all the teams are on the northwestern side. Northwest? Southwest?
No, you're right. Northwest, because because Miami is South Florida. So
okay. Hey, I failed geography, so don't geography. You know what I mean? So it's harder for teams to travel to Florida, like it is the central where everything is, like a Texas, like the New Orleans, like. So I think it would have been better if they would have picked schools that were better approximate for that area. How they remedy that with Florida A&M not being in the game, I don't know, but I think it could get better if you pick the right teams going forward. Who the right teams are is up to them. I personally wouldn't know who the right teams are personally, other than Florida A&M and whoever else will be in the game.
Yeah, that's why a lot of these postseason bowl games happen in certain cities, like in Atlanta, where There are large alumni bases for a lot of these schools already there. So you got that built-in support. Like you said, Jared, like New Orleans, same thing. Texas, same thing. Miami, not so much. Um, Especially around this time of the year. And plus, like Miami in general, just for sports in general, the entire area is kind of known for like not really supporting like sporting events outside of maybe like a national championship game or a Super Bowl. But like even Miami, who Florida A&M will play on Saturday, they don't really draw very well either. And it's Miami. They haven't really drawn well since left the Orange Bowl back in the day. But still, like you got to be really calculated and think like, well, while Alabama State and North Carolina Central are probably two of the better teams in all of college football, like having that game in Miami where there's no ties for like either school there probably was not going to be recipe for like having a lot of folks show up to that game, despite their history and their prominence within Black college football.
Because even when you look at the Red Tails Classic, and I know we got to move on, but even if you look at the Red Tails Classic, you got Tuskegee in Alabama, where that's where they are. That's where their alumni base is. That's where it's easy for them to travel to that game. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. It doesn't matter that you switch out Johnson C. Smith from Fort Valley State. Tuskegee is the main portion of that of where their fan base is. So they are able to travel to the Red Tails Classic. Now, if you put a team like Allen in there, it's going to be difficult to draw because they're coming from South Carolina. You know what I mean? So like if you're not going to put a team that is closer, approximate to that area, which again, it's going to be hard when you take out Florida A&M. You got to either change locations or you got to find a way to get Florida A&M in that game. And I think going forward, they might have to go back to Florida A&M if they are willing to play that game, which I don't know the situation as to why they decided not to play it this year. But anyway, we can go.
Yeah, I mean, currently, FAMU doesn't have like a full-time AD, so like those negotiations are probably will be kind of like compromised because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully next year the Florida that classic will be better attended. I don't know what the TV numbers are; they haven't been released yet. Normally, when it take this long to not to be released, not very good. The game did start on ESPN, and then the weather delay kind of like was prolonged. And after a while, ESPN moved it to ESPN News, so that's definitely going to impact the ratings. But we'll see when it comes out. We'll be there to post it once that number hits. So moving on to week 2, Jared Hoffman, you wrote a piece today. It's on our website right now, kind of previewing the 5 games to watch. And a lot of them were FCS D1 against HBCU D2 games. I'm gonna bring up the schedule right now, at least for the SWAC side of this thing. So yeah, like a lot of Division I HBCUs going to be playing against Division II HBCUs. You got Alabama State playing against Miles College. You got Kentucky State going against Alabama A&M. You got Tuskegee playing Grambling. You got Lane playing Jackson State. You got Southern playing Savannah State for the first time in the Bluff. So Jared, do you think any of those schools, Division II I'm talking about, has an opportunity to knock off a SWAC or a MEAC school this weekend?
Well, obviously, everybody's going to look at Miles against Alabama State because they beat them last year. But Alabama State's intent is up. Let me say this: their intent better be up because you do not want to lose 2 in a row to Alabama State. Now, granted, the SIAC has had its success against the SWAC. Tuskegee many years ago had a winning streak going against Bama State in the Turkey Day Classic. Lane, I believe, beat Jackson State previously a few years ago. So it is nothing new. And who was that beat UAPB a couple of years ago? I think it was Lane. Yes, it was Lane when they had Andrew Farmer. So the SIAC has had its success against the SWAC. So, and one of those last year was Miles against Alabama State. Miles is a well-coached team. Sam Shade is in his third year, improved them last year from 1-9 in his first season as the head coach to 6-4 or 7-3, whichever one last year, and we're in the mix for the SIAC championship race. And they nearly beat UAPB. They fell by 1 point to them. So this is a Miles team that is a disciplined program. They play the game the right way. They are fundamentally sound. Don't make too many mental mistakes. So, and I went on record and I said this during our Monday show that if Andrew Body is not able to play in this game, I wouldn't be hard pressed to pick Miles to win it, because the other kid at the quarterback spot, I think he has promise. He made some good passes in the game against North Carolina Central, but I don't think that he is the starter that Alabama State needs. I think Andrew Body is the guy, because he's a guy that can make plays in different ways with his feet, with his arm. And so if Andrew Body is not able to play that game, I would not be surprised if Miles won. Tuskegee and Grambling is a game that I'm watching. I know Ken is probably not watching because he's with family, obviously. But if he was to watch this back later, he probably wouldn't like that I'm saying that Grambling would be on upset alert. But Tuskegee is a very good team. We already talked about, they no longer have Antonio Meeks. They didn't start the season off very well. So they're coming in this as the heavy underdogs, knowing they have nothing to lose. And Grambling is coming into this game with the lofty expectations of everyone saying that this could be a turnaround year for them. So they got a lot on their plate, and this is not a bad Tuskegee team whatsoever. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tuskegee made a game out of it and if they came out the victor. But the obvious pick for the biggest upset alert would be Alabama State against Miles.
Yeah, Chris, what says you?
Well, from an SIAC SWAC perspective, because there's a few games D2, D1 that are in other conferences, but I have to agree that if Andrew Body can't go, Alabama State is in serious danger, because Jonah O'Brien, while he might be the better traditional prototypical quarterback, he's a sieve back there. He's a sitting duck, and with Body's legs and his strength, his athleticism, that's the guy you build your offense around. Yes, you need a quarterback that can make a throw here and there, but in this case, Alabama State has a defense where you give them 14 to 17 points, you should win. This didn't happen against North Carolina Central. Of course, this is North Carolina Central, the best team in HBCU football, in my opinion. This is my opinion. So anybody out there that's representing any other school, you can claim your school. Good for you. But I'm saying that North Carolina Central is the best HBCU football team right now. That's subject to change. But, Alabama State has a defense. You give them 14 to 17 points, they should win. So you just got to find a way to let Andrew Body get you 14 to 17 points and go from there. My pick, however, I picked Hampton to beat Virginia Union, but it would not surprise me if Virginia Union won that game on Saturday. There's so much about Virginia Union that you like from an offensive perspective with Jada Byers and Curtis Allen in that backfield. Hampton has a 2-quarterback system that none of us really knew about until the game actually started, but they've got to decide on a quarterback, and their defense couldn't stop Morgan State on the ground. Morgan State ran up nearly 250 yards on the ground. And we just saw Jada Byers go for 15 yards a carry. Well, granted, Hampton's defense is not Kentucky State. We know this. But at the same time, this Virginia Union team seems extremely dangerous. I don't want to leave out Virginia State either, because Virginia State did beat Norfolk State in one of the wildest finishes in Black college football in the last 15 to 20 years. But I feel like Norfolk State's got a better chance this year. But overall, if you made me pick, I like Virginia Union over Hampton.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the game last year between Virginia State and Norfolk State. Obviously, me talking about Miles and Alabama State is because we were talking about the SWAC. If we're talking about the CIAA schools going against the MEAC, Virginia Union definitely probably has the biggest upset alert going against Hampton. I wouldn't be surprised if Jada Byers went off for 200 yards in that game. If that defense forced a couple of turnovers, Virginia Union has a history against Hampton. They did beat them in 2019, and obviously Hampton got their win back, I believe, in 2021 against a weaker Virginia Union team. But I would not be surprised to see Virginia Union win that game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them blow them out either. Because in 2019, when they beat them 36-17. It was a one-sided game. But I'm interested to see in the Virginia State, Norfolk State game, the running game from each team. Kavon King for Norfolk State, Jamil Williams, who had an incredible performance in the Black College Hall of Fame Classic. I think he is due for another big game in this one. I think the rushing numbers are going to be off the charts in this game. I don't see many passes going on in that game. I think that the rushing totals are going to be off the charts. But I agree with you, Chris. I think Norfolk State is much better equipped to win this year than they were last year. But it would not surprise me if Virginia State pulled off the upset again. But I think it's going to be a very entertaining game.
Yeah, I do too. Anybody giving Winston-Salem State any chance against North Carolina A&T this weekend? Chris said no. Move on. No,
probably not.
No disrespect to Ram Nation, but that game hasn't been competitive in many a year, and it won't be competitive this year.
The only thing I'll say is that it's the weakest North Carolina A&T team they've played in a long time. But I think they can possibly have a better performance against them than they've had in years past. But in terms of getting the win, I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, for like whatever reason, people are thinking Lane has a chance against Jackson State, and I don't see that. I know JSU is going to be without their two top rushers going into the game, but they're still pretty deep at that position and overall. And they played a FBS school pretty tough and probably should have won that game. I don't see how Lane College is going to upset them. Jackson State's not Tennessee State. All due respect to them, I don't see that at all. Miles, Alabama State. Yeah, the way the Alabama State offense played on Sunday would give you some kind of pause whether or not Alabama State can win that game. But I think the Hornets are going to pull that one out. Savannah State Southern. This is not Savannah State from like 10 years ago when they were actually in the MEAC and good. This is going to be a Southern team that probably should have won that game against McNeese. And Terrence Graves really was disappointed they not win that game. He said, literally, we were the better team. We should have beat them. I think they're going to put a hurting on Savannah State. I don't think that game is going to be close at all. As far as the MEAC is concerned, I think Norfolk State wins that game. I know Norfolk State had two really tough opponents coming out the first game of the season. They really impressed me a lot in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. If they can run the ball the same way they ran it the first game of the season, I don't think Virginia State has a chance at that one. So I think all in all, there won't be any upsets this weekend unless something strange happens in one of these games. Am I wrong about that, or are you guys pretty entrenched in your positions?
It's hard to tell because week to week, I mean, you get some strange stuff. I mean, we literally saw, even though it's a D2 game, we literally saw Clark Atlanta throw away 2 punts because the center couldn't snap the ball. They were down 14-0 before I could finish making my chicken cheesesteak on my stove. But they ended up winning that game 45-42. So Black College football, it's a special thing. You never know what you're going to get from week to week. So, it looks like these Division I should be these Division IIs, but stranger things have and can happen.
Yeah, I'm not counting out anybody. I don't care who it is.
Is that because like other teams involved, or just because like it's college football, anything can happen?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think Virginia Union, Virginia State, Miles, those are all very good teams. Then on any given night, they can outplay any FCS HBCU on any given night. Like at their best, and a SWAC or MEAC school comes slacking, I wouldn't be surprised to see them beat. We'll get to Morgan in a second, but I would not be surprised to see a Division II HBCU on their best day beating a SWAC or MEAC school that comes slacking, or even if they're playing their best, because we've seen that too. a SWAC school play its best and a SIAC school play its best, or a CIAA school and a MEAC school playing its best, and the CIAA and the SIAC won. So I think it's because of the teams involved and because college football is unpredictable.
Yeah, Will Wallace said JSU by 40. I agree with that. They probably win by 40.
He said 40.
40. JSU by 40. They probably win by 40. Yeah, they probably do that. And Arkansas Pine Bluff fan, D-Lo 2010 says, does D2 HBCUs play PWI FCS schools?
Yeah. Who was it that played? I think Central State played Morehead State.
Yeah, and they almost beat them too.
Yeah, they were in that game deep into the fourth quarter. I was rooting for them so hard.
Yeah.
D2 HBCUs have played against PWI FCS schools. It doesn't happen as often as we play in HBCU FCS schools, but it does happen.
And it always sparks the conversation about, well, should certain D2 schools move up to Division I? And there's a lot of parameters to go into doing that. Some schools probably are better positioned than others, but the road not easy to doing that. And these games really don't determine either way which decision schools make in doing that.
Yeah, the people got to understand that just because a team looks good, that means that they should move up to Division I. There are more, like you said, there are more parameters than the performance on the field that determine whether a team should move up to the FCS. Like you look at, I don't know if it's West Georgia or West Florida, one of those schools moved up to the FCS. It's because they had the financial backing to be able to do it. It's not just because their program is elite. You got to look at more than just the elite programs. That's and you also have to look at travel is very important. Why do you think North Dakota State hasn't gone to the FBS yet? Because travel would be very difficult, and the amount of money they would spend on traveling would not be worth them moving up to the FBS where they feel like they would be successful. They are right where they need to be in the FCS. There are schools that could potentially make that transition and it work out well. For example, who was it a couple of years ago? Not Appalachian State. Was it Appalachian State or was it? Who am I thinking about? So there are programs that have moved up from FCS to FBS or Division II to FCS that have worked out. But there's countless other examples where it hasn't worked out, especially in HBCUs. Look at what happened with FAMU. Look what happened with Savannah State going to the MEAC. We've had successes, we've had failures. So it's all about timing and it's all about circumstance.
Yeah, whether or not your school can support that move too, because if you bring up football, you got to bring up everybody else too. At the same time, that costs money. That costs a lot of money to do that.
To be honest, a lot of schools should be considering moving down to Division II. And people get mad when I say this. And I look directly at the school that gave me a degree in 2007, 45 minutes down the road from where I live now. I love Delaware State, but the money situation, hey, got to be realistic about these things.
But the argument is, well, if a school like Delaware State or a school a lot of people say should move down, Mississippi Valley State moves down, they'll be losing out on all that basketball money that comes in. That can be duplicated at the Division II level.
Yeah.
And they've been losing out on playing those football money games. You're going to get the same type of dollars playing those games, either at Division II. Because FCS schools ain't paying out that kind of money to play you either. It's a catch-22, man. Either way you go, I'm talking about reclassifying yourself in college sports. Now the price of doing business is going up with NIL, and there's a lot of conferences that are realigning now to try to save themselves or try to get this football money that's out there. Schools are going to have to take a really long, hard look at their byline to find out, well, can we really do this? Move up or down? Because I know with some of these Division I schools, change the conferences, for example, they got to think about whether to cut sports. Because if you Stanford, whatever, and you with the ACC now, or you USC or UCLA in the Big Ten now, it's going to cost you a lot of money to send those kids from California all the way to Piscataway, New Jersey to play a game.
And again, these are. I mean, the sports that are not front porch sports are absolutely going to suffer. When you think about, you know, imagine a kid or a family has a daughter that's playing field hockey at North Carolina, and they, or yeah, and they get sent. There's a game they want to watch, but they're out in Oregon or something like that. It's really just hard, to see a lot of these sports like field hockey, a lot of lesser sports like field hockey, soccer, so on and so forth, surviving in this new format, which is why it's really just for the best that these Power Fives that want to do this football thing, cool, do the football thing. But either you start passing this money down or you just go ahead and branch off and start your own thing and let the other 137 Division I programs stay in NCAA, because it just doesn't make any sense at this point.
Yeah, Rico Brown asked the question: what do Division I schools, or maybe Division II schools, I don't know, but what do Division I schools get for money games?
I think that's Division II.
Okay, Division II. They get money. That's what they get. They get money.
They get something, basically, and it's not enough for it to justify. Why do you think Virginia Union's playing Hampton and they're not playing Texas Southern? Because that travel is not worth the amount of money they're going to get from that game. You're never going to see Virginia Union going cross city lines to playing a team 3 or 4 states north or south of where they are, because it doesn't justify the amount of money they're going to get compared to how much they're going to pay for travel for that. So it's money, but it's not enough to where they need to be going up against teams that are not regionally proportionate to where they are.
Yeah, I was listening to the Pablo Torre podcast, and he mentioned, like, during the Olympics that, like, a lot of the athletes who competed for Team USA in other countries were propped up by the college system, and within the college system was football. And because football generates so much money, that they are able to help fund these other sports like track and field, like swimming, like some of these sports we don't watch all year long or every 4 years, but watch the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And the same logic applies here to football too. Like, this football money, by playing these games, either it's Division I black colleges playing against the SEC schools, or Division II black colleges playing against Division I black colleges. They're getting this money. That goes a long way in supporting these programs, supporting your track and field team, supporting your soccer team, supporting your softball team, supporting your baseball team. So while we don't necessarily like the fact that Alabama A&M has to play at Auburn, that beatdown goes a long way to helping out the other schools. I mean, the other programs at the school too, to survive and, like, support their athletes too. And so the players are kind of like sacrificial lambs in that way, because we care so much about football that we'll support the football team. And that's by doing so and supporting the entire athletic department. Yeah, so Fayetteville State was scheduled to play Alabama, and then for some reason it fell apart. Yeah, like, that kind of happens sometimes. Yeah, but moving on, we're going to skip away from sports and football now and get to the fun part of the Roundtable. I mean, I understand football talk not fun, but on Wednesday nights, we kind of go off the beaten path a little bit. We're going to get into a couple of topics that are fun. And one topic we're going to say for the end is kind of serious. There's going to elicit some strong reactions and strong discussions. But the first topic that we're going to go with music this time. And I know it's band season, and bands like to play the hits that have been played throughout the summer that are real popular on the charts. And some of us may think, well, these songs have been used way too much, played out already. And so Chris Stevens, this was his idea. He has a couple of songs in mind. He thinks, like, bands will wear out that have already been wear out before even fall started. So Chris, what was the brainchild behind this, and what songs do you think now have already been played out or should not be played by bands this season?
Well, this has probably been the summer with the least amount of hits, I'll say, summer anthems that I can remember in a very long time. Probably ever, to be quite honest with you. Because nothing on the radio has really grabbed me. Maybe because I'm just a little older than everyone else. You know, my summers were spent listening to, you know, people like Aaliyah, DMX, Beyonce, you know, folks like that. You know, and I get that every once in a while you'll find something that kind of hits you for a minute, but it doesn't stick with you. Like $1 Million Baby. Like that song. Like the dude, like there's a dude on Instagram named Reggie Cuz that has like this very funny, you know, spoof of it, you know, where he's like talking about how his uncle gets ready to go out and he listens to the song and it's like an old drunk uncle singing the song. His version of that song is better than the actual $1 Million Baby. So there's gonna be, you know, horn lines that go up for that. I never represent, baby, ain't do no wrong. I mean, and that's cool, but I ain't trying to hear that. I done heard that song too much coming from people's cars all summer, man. I can't do it. And as much as I love Glorilla, and I love Glow, but if I hear it's 7 p.m. Friday, it's 95 degrees, one more damn time, Glow, we dealing with global warming because of you, ma'am. We know it's 95 degrees at 7 o'clock because
you can't hold Glorilla responsible for global warming, man.
Maybe she's bringing awareness to it. I don't know, but I'm tired of it's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees. I ain't got no. Yeah, we know you ain't got none. Well, I mean, Glow might have some, but the women singing the song, we know you ain't got none. Enough, please. Those are my two choices. I mean, and like I said, I love Glow. I think she is authentic. I think every song that she's put out recently has been a hit, and that's not going to stop. But please, let's just. It's 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. Well, actually, it's 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, and thankfully, it's below 70 degrees for once. Let's enjoy that season, please, and thank you.
I'm not rushing winter. I don't like when it's chilly in the morning, man. I'm from Chicago, where it's cold like 8 months out of the year. So as long as it's hot, I'm cool with it. I'm not rushing fall. I like fall, but I definitely don't want to get to winter quickly. I'm not this sweater weather person. I don't like that. But Jared Hoffman, what hits you think bands should stay away from this football season?
I don't know that there's any hits that I'm annoyed by personally, because I don't listen to the radio. So I don't know what songs are getting played the most right now. I'm pretty sure the Megan Thee Stallion, Glorilla hits are probably getting played to the moon. But I don't really listen to the mainstream artists. I listen more to the international artists than I do the US artists. Like the Afro beats, even French hip hop is something that I discovered I like. So I'll be listening more to the international artists than anything. But I said it when the songs came out that $1 Million Baby and Not Like Us was going to go platinum with HBCU bands. I think everybody knew that. Somebody tried to give Joe Budden credit for that. Like, if you talk to any HBCU alum that heard the intro to Not Like Us with the dun 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 dun, we knew that HBCU bands were going to go crazy with that. So, if there are any songs that I feel like are going to get played a lot, that I thought were going to get played a lot, I would say it was those two. But I'm surprised that song. There's another song with Glorilla and Meg Thee Stallion that I thought was gonna go crazy. I forget what that song is called. That song they go Meg, get him Glow.
Get him
I
Glow.
thought that song was gonna get overplayed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that song was gonna get overplayed, but there ain't no song that really. Well, it's not in the days back in the day when I used to look at me sounding old. Back in the day when I used to listen to the radio, when I recognized songs were getting overplayed. Like when Pharrell came out with Happy. Oh my God.
That song was everywhere.
That song was played into oblivion. So I don't think it's a song that is that annoying. But if there's a song that I thought was going to get overplayed, it was definitely $1 Million Baby and Not Like Us. But I love $1 Million Baby. I don't agree with Chris. I love Tommy Richmond's version better than anybody's version. I'll be banging that to this day.
Yeah. So Chuck, me and you think on the same wavelength, man. I only got one first round draft pick a song that I'm already tired of hearing about, and it ain't been out as long as some of the songs y'all mentioned. It's Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us." I mean, I love the song. I love the lyrics. It's got a great hook, but I've heard that song everywhere. I've heard it in the gym. I've heard that song on television. I've heard that song like after like NBA games when NBA season was going on. I heard that song playing on like commercials. I heard that song at baseball games because now like the players got it as their walk-up song to the plate. And I'm like, band season coming around, and that song gonna get woe out like a $2 steak, man. It's just gonna be bad the whole fall and winter, man. Like every time, especially when it's rivalry games, like let's say, for example, Giant State beat the brakes off of, I don't know, Grambling, which they will, by 40. They gonna play that song, man. They gonna play that song after the game is over. So yeah, like that's the song that like I'm already tired of hearing of. It ain't been out that very long in the summertime.
If you tired of hearing it, imagine how the target of the song feels about it.
Oh yeah, Drake.
I mean, let's be real about it. I mean, this is a dude that literally is calling you out about your predilection for hanging around girls that are not of age, and you are a swagger jacker and a culture vulture, and people have been dancing to that joint all summer long. And now that you add the horns to it, because HBCU bands are very horn centric, as they should be. I mean, because that's what black bands have been the whole time. I mean, so you got to have a good horn section. So that, as Jared said, that intro, from the moment I heard it, I said, "Oh my God, the 100 is going to kill this," and they have. So, I mean, we can get tired of it, but I mean, the person who has been, pretty much, to quote the legendary scholar Michael Gerard Tyson, fading into Bolivian because of this song. I mean, it can't feel good for him either. Return to the Mac. Come on, Chuck.
Hold on. Time out. Let me take over.
They about to get you out of here, Chuck. You better correct yourself, man.
Chuck, I appreciate you, big dog. I see you in the chat all the time. I appreciate you supporting us, but don't you dare talk about Return of the Mac. Return of the Mac is the jam, man. Come on. Don't do that. Don't do that, Chuck. Come on, man.
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, I'm on. Come on, man. Man. Go ahead.
That is an anthem. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, the dude, like Mark Morrison in the song, the girl played him, but he's like, "I'm back on my BS now." It is the return of the Mac. Now you got to watch me do my thing, and you sitting over there in the corner looking crazy. That is a spiritual, emotional, motivational, uplifting song. That man came back. All the times he lied, all the times she lied to him. Told her he would die for her, and she still lied to him. And he was still like, "I'm back." It's the return of the Mac. It's a legendary song. Sorry, Chuck. Can't agree with you on that.
Every time Return of the Mac comes on, I get a little bit of pep in my step. I be feeling like the confidence goes way up when I hear Return of the Mac. And so I respect your opinion, Chuck, but I can't rock with you on that one.
Remember when Burger King brought back Return to Mac as their theme to introduce their new food item? And they played that song, that commercial, like every 15 minutes on television. I was like, I'm tired of it.
I'm still not tired of it. Play it more. Burger King, give Return to the Mac. Make that your song. Wendy's, make that your song. Taco Bell, make that your song.
McDonald's.
Chick-fil-A, all of y'all, make Return to the Mac your song.
Chick-fil-A is too family friendly, man. They ain't gonna play.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that.
They liable to play some type of Kurt Franklin song before they play Return to the Mac.
For all my church folk, if there's one song that we was overplayed, it was "Smile" by Kirk Franklin. Oh my goodness. You talk about getting overplayed. Oh man, that every single situation, it doesn't matter what it was. You was here if you was in church around the time when Kirk Franklin came out with that song was getting played.
I know God is working, so I smile.
If your
Still,
song can be played at a graduation, that means it's probably overplayed.
man, when I tell you we had for sixth grade graduation, they made us sing "Heal the World" by Michael Jackson. When I tell you, I have not listened to that song since sixth grade graduation. I was never much of a singer anyway, as has been proven on this program quite a bit. Making us practice that just to, why are we having a sixth grade graduation anyway? I don't know. But us singing Heal the World at sixth grade graduation, I have not listened to that song since. And to tell you how long ago I graduated from sixth grade, Michael Jordan had just picked up his third NBA championship and retired the subsequent September. That's how long ago it's been. I've avoided Heal the World like the plague ever since.
Man, from like my 8th grade graduation, they had us sing "I Believe I Can Fly" by R. Kelly.
Oh no.
Oh God.
Dear God, no.
Yeah, that was before like we knew R. Kelly was,
Hey, but when that song came out,
that
though, everybody was on that song. But
yeah, literally everybody was on that song.
As far as Michael Jackson, his song, I get that yours was a personal experience with Heal the World, but Michael Jackson's songs in general, they age perfectly. Like you could play, it doesn't matter what setting you're in, you could play a Michael Jackson song and it will belong. Like he transcends the ethnicities, he transcends occupations. You could play him at sporting games, you could play him at political rallies, you could play him at
certain political rallies, not all
certain political, but even the red folk be playing his songs. That's the most respectful way that I can address it. The red folk be playing his songs and it doesn't feel out of place. It don't feel out of place at all.
I think the best example of that, and Jared is absolutely 100% correct, is the great video that you find on Twitter every now and then of DMX dancing to "Baby Be Mine" at his family Christmas party. That's how I like to remember DMX, because DMX was my favorite rapper and he died, 3 years ago. I'm still torn apart by that. But to see him just jig into "Baby Be Mine" in perpetuity just lifts my spirit. But yeah, Michael Jackson just has a place for everything.
That's why he's the king of pop, man.
Yep.
And don't let these generation, what do you call them?
Gen Z.
Oh, them
whatever
people that try to say that he's
are.
not the biggest celebrity.
Yeah, trying to say Taylor Swift and all these people bigger than Michael Jackson. They own cocaine.
Listen, I know that I'm the youngest out of the group, but even I know and have seen the videos of people when he would just go on stage. He would just jump on stage and is standing on stage, not saying nothing for 5 minutes, and people are passing out.
Crying and carrying on, man.
Or when that video when he was in the airport, when he was in the airport and he tried to jump out and start waving at people, and then a whole crowd of people in that airport, probably missing their flights and everything, running over to see him. So I don't subscribe to that thought that he's not the biggest celebrity or that he's not the best entertainer. Chris Brown is not in that discussion. With all due respect to Chris Brown, he is a great entertainer. And no, he is in that discussion. Let me not disrespect him. He's in that discussion for the greatest entertainers. But to me, number one is not debatable. It is Michael Jackson and everybody else. No disrespect to Beyonce, no disrespect to Prince, no disrespect to Chris Brown or Usher or any of the great entertainers of our lifetime and past lifetimes. But it is Michael Jackson that sits atop that throne, and there is nobody else that challenges him whatsoever.
Yeah, like we could be living 100 years from now, and Michael Jackson still be number one in everybody's book.
Yes.
Despite what you Swifties say, I don't care. Come at me, I don't
care. Probably a popular opinion among us, but an unpopular opinion from the world. I don't see the appeal of Taylor Swift. I don't see it. come Swift. No, I'm not going. I'm not going.
Don't
I'm not
do
going
it.
back. I'm not going to bring on the Swifties. I'm not going to bring on the Swifties.
Dog. The Swifties are worse than Florida A&M's fan base. Be careful.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. I know for sure. But me personally, I think, and it may be because of the type of music she makes that I just don't identify with. But even when I see her on stage performing, like I get all of the flash and pump in certain circumstance that she has that she adds to her performances. But even then, I don't see how people see her as this great entertainer, especially when you compare her to all these other artists who don't have as much flashing lights and all the other stuff that she incorporates into her performances. And they still are more entertaining to me than she is. But again, it may be the music that she makes.
Yeah, like my wife is a big Swiftie fan, so I probably shouldn't say any of this stuff.
Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
better be
like
careful,
I don't
man.
get the I don't get the appeal either. Yeah, but yeah, like Michael Jackson, King of Pop, forever and ever and ever. All right, now for the serious topic. Now, if you go to our message board on our website, there's an active thread going on that's entitled "Why." It's based on election season and the presidential race. It's entitled "Why Do Black Men Hate Kamala Harris?" And this has been a discussion in Black Twitter and beyond Black Twitter and beyond social media too. That for whatever reason, and I've encountered this myself, probably you guys have too. Like a lot of Black dudes, they have some really strong negative opinions and assertions about the VP and her running for president and what that would mean for them if she's voted in office. Now, a lot of it has been rooted in the fact that people don't think she's Black enough for some reason, despite the fact she went to a Black college in Howard, which doesn't make you Black, by the way, by going to a Black school, but that's just one example. She's also been heavily involved for like surrounding herself in her district attorney work with Black people, helping Black people. So always things for Black people. And for whatever reason, a lot of Black men, and I think a lot of them are, some of them, I don't say a lot of them, but some of them don't know how government works, or they believe a lot of misinformation, or they believe that Kamala Harris, as a district attorney, her job was to specifically lock up Black men. Is that right? Is that the conspiracy theory? She was there to lock up Black men and just Black men only. As someone who works in law and enforce the laws, sometimes you're gonna lock up people. But yeah, that's the sentiment out there. So fellas, what do we make of this? Why do you think some Black men aren't just for Kamala Harris as president?
I want this camera on me. So I got some things to say. I'm gonna get them off my chest, and I'm gonna make this very clear. And I'm gonna look in the camera when I tell you Negroes this. They think y'all are marks. They think y'all are dumb as a box of rocks, and you're proving them right. You just saw the former president of the United States call veterans suckers and dummies, and he would not. This is a dude that dodged the draft, and there are people that are still going to vote for him. He also went around and said that he was okay to grab women by the lady parts. People are still going to vote for him. They can do that. You Negroes need to stop right now. And especially you dudes that follow behind Ice Cube. Ice Cube comes down from his Beverly Hills mansion every 4 years with this black contract that ain't nothing but a damn CVS receipt talking about this is what Black people need. Why don't we have a hate crime bill? Why don't we have this? Joe Biden, number one, signed the Emmett Till Act years ago. Number two, Steve Bannon, the dude who looks like a molded piece of bread, a molded piece of ciabatta, or is it ciabatta? I don't know. One of them types of breads. He looks like a molded piece of bread. And somehow he has become the face of fascism and Nazism and propaganda. And he has openly said that he is targeting Black men because Black men appear to be the most susceptible to misinformation. And who does Steve Bannon partner with? Ice Cube. You can look that up. That is a Negroes are being had, and they are using your misogynoir against you, and you don't even know it. And we can talk all day long about how a lot of you dudes have a problem with women because Keisha or Tanya or Tamara turned you down or laughed at you in the 7th grade. You ain't never forgot about it. Grow up. We don't have time for this foolishness. Like Michelle Obama said, we do not have time for this foolishness. If Trump gets back in office, we're all going back into the cotton fields, or worse, the gas chamber. Kamala Harris is trying to save this country from itself. But it won't help if you Negroes keep handing out disinformation. All she did was locked up black men. Number one, Kamala Harris's primary act as a district attorney in California was getting sex offenders off the street. So if somebody you know got locked up under her watch as a DA, then you need to take a long, hard look in the mirror who you're with. I'm telling you Negroes this right now. You can get mad. You can call me a name. You can call me out my name. You'll just get blocked on Twitter, but it really don't make me no difference because, you know, y'all just gonna be the ones that looking like fools. Y'all letting y'all misogynoir sell us right back into slavery, basically. That's what's going on here. You can be mad at the fact that a woman is running for president, or you can still be, you know, you can harbor your ill feelings towards women. I mean, that's your choice. I'm not going to take that choice from you, no matter how obscenely ridiculous it is. But I'm telling you all now, they think you're stupid, and you're proving them right. And that's all I got.
So, Jared Hoffman, how do you follow that rousing condemnation of Kamala Harris haters?
That's not a condemnation. That's a support. That's me telling you that's who I'm voting for on November 5th. I mean, I ain't dumb. Shoot.
Yeah. I think it's as simple as this. A lot of people on the internet don't have a mind of their own. And I think that goes beyond simple ignorance. So when you see so many people say that, oh, Kamala Harris oversaw this amount of black people's imprisonment for simple marijuana possession offenses, if you see enough people say it, and people that don't have a mind of their own see that, they'll start to believe it. Because if enough people have said it, then it must mean it's true. No one does their own research. No one does their own due diligence. Us as journalists, for example, right? If we see some news break, the first thing that we are going to do is fact check it. Because that's our natural instinct, at what should be our natural instinct as journalists, because we know that there are people who put fake news out there. There are people who have biases against certain people or certain groups. So we fact check everything because we know that there are certain things we have to take with a grain of salt. Kamala Harris does not get that due diligence because there is a bias against her, that she is a certain type of person. And the fact that she's a woman already is bad enough, that people don't have faith that a woman can do that job. So I can't go into the mind of the black men who try to discredit her at every step she takes. But I just think it's because of the fact that a lot of people in this world don't have a mind of their own. And there are a lot of people who have an agenda that have a bias and a bias. They have a biased agenda to spread certain rhetoric to people, to sway them to think a certain way. And the people who can't think for themselves eat it up. I think it's just as basic as that. And she's never going to go against that. But I will say that I'm proud of the black men who have stepped up and gone against the grain and have fought for her. Because I don't want to say that it's all black men. I want to give credit to the black men that have been by her side and that have, fought for her and fought for the truth. If you don't think that she's fit to be president, that's a whole other thing. But have factual information. is all I'm saying. Nobody ever comes with facts. Nobody ever comes with research. Nobody ever comes with, you know, realistic points of view. It's all emotion. It's all hearsay of what they heard, but could never corroborate. You know what I mean? So she's dealing with a bunch of people who don't have minds of their own, that only listen to the people who have a bias against her. And I think that's just what it is.
Yeah. Now, for me, I probably won't go as hard as you guys are gonna go, but I will say, and I talked to Ken about this a couple weeks ago. I was like, Ken, like I don't feel as strongly about politics as most people do, but I think it's not in the best interest of the country if Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Um, but I will say this though. I will say that as a citizen and as a voter, you do have the right to um, want more from your politicians, want more from elected officials, scrutinize their record, if you will, um, hold them accountable, confront them within reason about some of the stances they've had in the past and how it may apply to you if you decide to vote for them. And I think from that standpoint, yeah, if you want to be critical of Kamala Harris on her record of some things she did when she was a DA or when she was a senator the United States, yeah, feel free to do that. But all this talk about her identity and whether or not she's black or not and all this stuff, that's not what you're voting for. You're not voting for her because she's black woman or you think she's not a black woman or anything of that nature. You're voting for her because, or not voting for her because of what you believe she will do as president of the United States of America, how she represents the country. And that's what I think is unfair in all this. Like people coming at her identity, talking about who she decides to partner with, whether or not she has any children, that matter. No, that stuff doesn't matter. Like, what are you going to do when you're in office? That's what's matter to me. That's what should matter to everybody. And I will say this too. Talking about this topic and who it involves, we're all black men here on this panel. And I will say this, just because we're having this discussion does not give the license for some of you people out there, and I'm talking to my panel members, some of you people out there to blanketly say that this is how black men feel. No, this is how some black men feel. Black men in general, largely historically, have supported Democrats. They've been more progressive than white men. If you look at how voting is turned out on many issues, they support abortion. They support LGBTQ rights. They support all the things that the left does. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to support Kamala Harris 100% because, newsflash, politicians aren't supported 100%. Not even Donald Trump from the Republicans to support 100%. There's some folks jumping off of his bandwagon to hop on Kamala Harris's bandwagon because they believe that he's too far gone and will be bad for the country. So from that standpoint, I just don't want all black men to be painted as Kamala Harris haters. I'm sorry, I keep saying Kamala Harris. It's Kamala Harris haters. When in essence, it's only a very small percentage of black men who feel this way about her. The majority of black men, they're going to support her. Like they supported every other Democratic candidate or candidate that shares their particular stances and views and values in different elections. So don't people out there use this as another way to bash black men, because black men are politically astute in a lot of ways. They are intelligent. They know where they stand on issues and know what values to them and their families. And we can't use some black men who don't like Kamala Harris to say, well, this is how black men in general feel, because you know what? In 2016, 6% of black women supported Donald Trump, and 50% of white women supported Donald Trump, and 60% of white men supported Donald Trump, and yet no one goes in on those people and questions their political astuteness or intelligence. Always the black man who gets that kind of moniker or brandish in that way. And I'm hoping people are more intelligent enough to say, hey, okay, this is a very small percentage of the people, and they won't factor in too much in election. Let's kind of like ignore them and just focus on the issues at hand and how we can better educate ourselves on how government works, number one. Number two, the election process, and really the background of these candidates, and not worried about these loudmouth celebrities and these loudmouth people on the internet who just want to cause division and troll all day. So that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, and so I have to agree with Kendrick, and I'm not taking back anything I said. I mean, everything I said. I was talking directly to the people, that small percentage. I don't want to say that, yeah, it's all black men, because that's not the case. But the ones that are the loudest are the ones that are anti, and that's just, when you think about people like Charlemagne the God. Oh my God, when his downfall comes, I am going to throw a party. I promise you. And you're all invited. We can do this virtually. I'll host it on my YouTube channel. Whenever the foolishness, because we've seen it before. There's always something lurking around the corner. So whenever Charlemagne the God's downfall happens, I am hosting a live stream, and you all are invited. There will be cake. There will be ice cream. There will be me playing music. But anyway, people like Charlemagne, people like Cube, all these other folks who don't have that much to lose. These are people who can still isolate themselves in their ivory tower, so to speak. The rest of us human beings, the ones that have to still get up and go to work every day, we don't have that luxury. So, I don't want to say that, yeah, it's all black men, but the ones that are the loudest are the most disappointing. Like, anyone who's questioning Kamala Harris's blackness is just ridiculous. This is a woman who's an AKA from Howard University. Tell me how much blacker you need to be than that. If she married a white man, so what? Black men, once again, to Kendrick, thank you for checking me on this. Some black men parade white partners in black women's faces like it's supposed to upset them, and then they really get upset when it doesn't upset black women, because they weren't the kind of black men that black women were checking for in the first place. So there's so much of this, like Jared said, there's so many layers to this that we could probably spend an entire episode on it, but that's not what we do here. But it's still a good point of discussion that we'll be able to chop up and people can see on their own. But I just want people to understand. I just want the few, the proud, and the ignorant to understand that they really think you're dumb and you're proving them right.
And I think something that Kendrick said is very important for what we're talking about. A lot of people don't know how government works. No. A lot of people don't know the duties of a president. They don't know the duties of a vice president. They don't know the duties of the House of Representatives. They don't know the duties of the Senate. They don't know the duties of the Supreme Court. They don't know the duties of each of these political systems and all the things that are in place. They don't know what an attorney general is. They don't know what a prosecutor, how prosecuting works. They don't know about the justice system and how all that works. So when they see something go wrong, like for example, how George Floyd and how the prosecution of the officer who murdered him, they don't know why he wasn't charged with a certain crime, or why he didn't get a certain sentence, or why the officers who were also involved in that incident, why people don't understand stuff like that. Or even if you want to take hate crimes out of it, in general, when a crime happens, when a felony occurs, and an officer, even though the people on the street are telling them that they think that person does it, people don't understand that you have to have probable cause. So when you see certain things happen like that, and you know that it's the policeman's job to put that person behind bars, we're looking at the police like, why aren't you doing your job? But people don't understand how probable cause works and investigations work. It's the same thing with politics. People think that because you can propose a bill that it's just going to automatically be accepted, it's going to be signed off, and it'll be put in place. That's not how it works. People don't understand that there's one party that takes over the House and there's one party that takes over the Senate, and they both have to come together and agree for it to become a bill. People don't understand stuff like that. People didn't watch Schoolhouse Rock. It's just how it is. People didn't watch that, so they don't know how government works. So when something goes wrong, or if something is not to their liking, or there's policies that go against certain people, because there are certain things that are in place that are biased against certain races of people or certain genders. So they don't know who to blame, so they go for the person that they see the most. And that may not even just be Kamala Harris. That could just be any political leader. Anytime we saw, for example, gas prices went up when Obama was in office. We blamed Obama like it was his fault. It don't make no sense, but that's it.
It's oil companies, bro. That's
Exactly.
it's not Obama.
We don't know who to blame, so we're going to go for the person who we see all the time. People have no idea how stuff like that works, so we're just going to go for the person that we see. And it doesn't help that people don't have faith in the political system already. There are people that don't trust the justice system already. So there are people who are in positions of power that get the disdain just by proxy, and I think Kamala Harris is one of those people who is a victim of that.
Yeah, we can't like discount like political disillusionment, because as we know, like voter turnout, no matter what year it is, no matter what race it is, it's always has been historically low. And like Jared said, like people already don't trust the system, so they figure like, why invest in it? Like, if I vote for you, what's going to change for me? Is pretty much what they're going to say. Like, you're only, as my mom told me years ago, it's like, if people get as big as they are, they must have done something bad to get there. I mean, like my mom like is a staunch voter, but like she even like skeptical of the system too, and like a lot of people are like her too. Like they don't really like trust the system. They don't trust like many people. They only vote by holding their nose and saying, "I'm gonna pick this person because like they're the least, they're the best or the worst," kind of thing.
Lesser two evils.
Yeah, lesser two evils. Yeah, and at a certain point, we gotta start picking them lesser two evils and actually pick somebody that's good. But like when it's only Democrat Republicans, that's the only chance that we have to like impact the system through those two parties. I mean, it's unfortunate it's that way. Like I wish there was a third party or fourth party like that would like kind of push the Democrats and Republicans to be better for especially us, but for everybody. But we don't live in that system, and that they're not gonna be propped up anyway. Like if you say you're gonna vote for like I don't know Jill Stein or back in the day like Ross Perot, they're gonna say, well, you're throwing away your vote. Like they're not gonna change anything. You gotta stick with Democrat Republican, and because of that, and because of the way the world has operated now and impacted folks, a lot of people are just like saying like I'm gonna stay home. I'm not gonna vote for nobody because like what good is gonna do me? But at the end of the day, like you're really like hurting not only yourself, but like your fellow man too, because like I don't believe necessarily like a non-vote is a vote for X candidate, because like how do you even prove that to begin with? But like yeah, like the more people you get to like vote for like certain things in your community, in your city, in your state, yeah, that could be a big boost for you and your family and your friends and your loved ones. Yeah, so like even if you don't like Kamala Harris, the least you can do is vote in a local election or the state election. Like that has just as much impact as the presidential election too. So I'm hoping people will educate themselves on the process. Be more involved in political activity. I know it can be annoying getting all those text messages and robocalls and emails about like vote for me, vote for this candidate, donate here, donate here. You see those mailers that come in the mail about like what was that I got the other day? Kamala Harris is a raging failed liberal or something like that. It said. Don't just ignore those. But yeah, like stuff like that's out there. Ignore all that stuff and just do like your own astute research. Go to PolitiFact, go to like newspaper articles and look up what these people have actually said on different policies and different perspectives about like, I don't know, like taxes and inflation, which is a lot of it's corporate greed, by the way. A lot of it is not should be blamed on Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. It's literal corporate greed, because you go up into a grocery store and you see a loaf of bread that costs $5 at one grocery store. You go down the street, another store, it's $4. That's not the fault of the president of the United States. That's corporate greed. doing that to you. It's not the president doing that or the VP doing that to you. That's corporate greed doing that to you. So just be educated on that stuff, and maybe we can have a better political system if we did that.
And one last thing, this is the last thing I'm gonna say about this. The world and the internet in general thrives off negativity. So when you already have a bias, when you already have preconceived notions, and you already have a negative mindset of a person or a process, a lot of times your ignorance is bliss. So you're set in your ways and you're not willing to take the time to learn about how things work so that you can have a different mindset. You're stuck in that negative mindset that people have fed to you, that you have seen, or that people have talked to you about. So I think a lot of times it's beyond repair for certain people, but there are people that, who are willing to learn. And I've seen an improvement in people who have been willing to learn. Like I've seen, people who have shared different facts about the amount of Black men who were actually arrested during Kamala Harris's time in California, and had their eyes open to. I just saw a bunch of people say this about Kamala Harris, and I just believed it rather than doing my own research. But actually seeing the numbers in front of you made you have a different outlook about it. There are certain people that will turn a page and actually start to think more positively about it, and actually be open-minded when seeing certain things that are said about a person. But there are certain people that are just too negative to ever be like, maybe I'm wrong. There are certain people that just aren't willing to admit they're wrong. They're just going to continue to put their ignorant thoughts out there and just not care about the impact of their words. So because there's people that just don't care about the impact of their words and how it could deter people from making certain political, or not even just political decisions in general that could change the outlook of the country, of the state, or the county that you're in. You know what I mean? So I think before people can do their research, they have to first do the work on themselves and changing their mindset and be more open-minded to new ideas before they can, start to actually see any progress. Because I just think that's what it is.
Yeah, like I said before, like there's a lot of political disillusionment and apathy out there, and people had their hopes up during whatever administration there was, either for presidential or local, and they saw that, hey, like nothing has changed or got worse, and they're like, I'm not doing this no more. But like Jared said, like educate yourself on this stuff. Like change don't happen overnight, and I know it's slow and it's hard, and it's kind of like hard to hear because like you think you vote somebody, it's gonna like turn around next day. Nope. There's opposition from different parties. Even within your own party, there's opposition too. And we saw that play out with the Democrats very much so these last couple of years. But at the same time, though, like if you continue to participate in the system and you do it with the open mind, number one, number two, with the educated mind, then you will see the change you want. But a lot of people just don't see it as being something worthy to invest in. That's disappointing to like everybody. It's not just Black men, it's just people in general. Like you look at the numbers for like voter turnout every year, it's like 20%. That's not a Black problem, that's like a public problem. Like how do we like get more people to like be involved in the system that way, to see the change they want and impact so many people? But it's going to take generations for that to happen, and unfortunately, like we just don't have that kind of time to do that. Yeah, so good discussion, fellas, on all topics tonight. Any last words before we get out of here?
Don't be stupid. Sorry, just want to make that clear. I mean, everyone has made great points. Kendrick says, do your research. Jared says, keep an open mind. I just beg people to not be dumb, because it's just some things, just, I mean, we got people asking name one policy that the VP has said. When have you ever known the Vice President of the United States to set a policy? I mean,
here's the Angel Reese meme.
Be for real. I love her, by the way. She is such a dope person. I can't wait. I can't wait for her to just continue to shine. But yeah, just use your. Or if we want to use R. Kelly, and we don't like to use R. Kelly, but he did have a great point on Gayle King's interview. Use your common sense, and I'll leave it at that.
Jared Hoffman.
Yeah, just try to learn to have a mind of your own. Yes. You having confidence within yourself will lead you into better places than you depending on someone else to tell you something that you should already know yourself. If you don't believe the positive things about yourself that someone else is telling you, you will never grow as a person. So go into this election season knowing that your vote matters, knowing that you are intelligent and that you are making the right decision. Be well informed. Read everything you need to read. If what you read tells you that you believe that Donald Trump is the best candidate, I can live with that. If what you
I can't live with that, no.
like I can live with people who actually do their research, do their proper research. I can't live with you voting for Trump just because you think you're gonna get you $1,200 every month. I don't. That's another story for another day. But do your proper research. I can live with you doing the proper research and you making an informed decision rather than making a blind decision based on what someone else is telling you is the right decision to make.
Yeah, my last words are I agree with Jared and Chris on what they said tonight. Also, folks, enjoy some college football this weekend, and the NFL Week 1 is going to start up tomorrow, actually, with Kansas City against Baltimore. Enjoy that. I'm going to enjoy the Bears games on Sunday when they play the Titans. The Bears. Caleb Williams. That's his thing. He does the claw now everywhere he goes. But yeah, like enjoy football, have some fun. We can talk about more serious things next Wednesday night. I don't know what the topic is going to be, but it's going to be something that I think is going to be a good discussion. But thanks for joining us. Remember, you can be a level 1, a level 2, a level 3 member for $4.99. Support what we do here on our YouTube channel and our website because we are expensive, according to Ken Rashad. For Chris Stevens, Jared Hoffman, I'm Kendrick. See you.